Eating old or expired food is extremely dangerous.
Here's our date. That's a 1947 box of Wheaties. Let's do this.
1930s box of Cracker Jack.
You got me Pringles? Oh, man.
From 1979, Harley Davidson wine coolers. 1940s box of Minute Rice.
Pepsodent tooth powder.
From 1933.
A vintage Tootsie Roll from the 60s. This is hardback from the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg from 1913. It's 106.
We're gonna do Oreos through the decades. I mean, it just smells like my uncle's hunting cabin.
It's been in this can for almost twice our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. I don't see any bugs. Oh,
You know when you get like a bunch of buses, exhaust smell?
Like driving behind that trash truck, you just can't get away from the smell.
exactly.
Is it weird that I want another spoonful?
Oh,
This is awesome.
it smells pretty bad. My mouth is on
Fire! What is that? I gotta go get some fresh air.
Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-ba-ba. This episode of the Opie Radio podcast, sponsored by BetterHelp.com/Opie. Join the over 800,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Special offer now. BetterHelp.com/Opie. Oh, I'm so excited about this episode. Let's do it.
Hello.
What's up, Josh?
What's up, man? How are you?
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good. Where are you, in LA?
Good. I am in LA. Yep.
Oh my God. How's it going out there?
You know, it was good, and then we hit a heat wave, so now we're just stuck inside during a heat wave. But and, you know, everything's all right.
I think the heat is going to make everyone say, screw this staying at home thing, and they're going to start wandering outside. They're not going to be able to help themselves, right?
You are 100% correct.
Are you from LA originally?
No, originally from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, PA.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man.
My brother Quinn, he texts me, I don't know, a few weeks ago. He goes, dude, you got to see this TV show, Eating History on the History Channel. So I checked it out, and in your words, you got to describe the show.
So I like to think of it as like this perfect amalgamation of education and like risk taking, I guess, because you know we do give you a lot of amazing facts about the food.
Yeah.
We really do. And you don't think about a lot of these items that you just pick up on a daily basis. Like you just figure Doritos were just there one day.
Right.
You know, some guy at the Frito-Lay company was just like, we got to put a bunch of cheese on these chips. And everybody's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, little did we know that they were invented at Disneyland and they've gone through so many different things. I think we add that perfect twist of you could watch a ton of documentaries about food and be like, all right, that was cool. But to see how things hold up over time and see these two lunatics trying them, but then also, you know, we take it pretty seriously. I mean, you have to, because if you don't, there's a really solid chance that you're going to get either really sick or die. It's like parts unknown, part bizarre foods, and then part Fear Factor.
Yeah.
Really.
And did you know Old Smokey before you guys came together for this TV show?
He's been doing this a lot longer, at least in the public eye, than I have. You know, I've been hosting different shows and podcasts and things of that nature. But, you know, I come from, you know, my dad is a big collector. All my uncles are collectors. We went to my one uncle's bar in one of the episodes. And so I've tried a bunch of this stuff and done a lot of crazy stuff, but never really on camera per se. But Smokey had been doing, you know, eating a lot of old military rations. He gets his nickname because he was collecting vintage tobacco. Old Smokey kind of just, rolls off the tongue. And a lot of these old military rations, which is amazing, is they in World War II, Korean War, up until Vietnam, they were putting cigarettes in military rations. They were putting little 5 packs of cigarettes in military rations. Somebody turned me onto his channel, and I started watching him eat these military rations, which can be addicting. It is a very fun thing to do.
Why is it addicting?
I don't know, man. Like, it is. There's something almost like ASMR about it, where you're just watching somebody. You're not even looking at their face. They're just like digging into old military rations. Like, oh, that's pretty. Yeah, what's that like? Right. Oh, instant coffee from the 70s.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got into it, and then I reached out to him, and I sent him a jar of peanut butter that I had that was like from the 80s. My dad found it at a flea market and thought it was hysterical because it was an old jar of Skippy, but it was shaped like a bear.
Oh,
and
my
so,
God, yeah.
Randomly enough, Sharp Entertainment, who's the production company behind this show, was working with History Channel, and I posted a video about it on Instagram a little while back, or maybe it was Twitter, and they reached out to me like, hey, we're doing this show. You should come in. And that's when Smokey and I officially met, was actually at the screen test for the show, along with a few other people. And wildly enough, he brought some of those old vintage cigarettes, and I had like a 1960s Lucky Strike. It was crazy.
My God. And the show was born with Josh and Old Smokey eating history on the History Channel. Basically, it's tracking down the rarest, strangest, most iconic foods from history. And then you guys, you talk about it a little bit, give the history of the product, and then you try this stuff. And I'll tell you, it's addicting to watch on TV. That's for sure. And I've watched every episode, and I've only made a partial list, but basically you guys tried 1947 box of Wheaties, 1930s box of Cracker Jacks, Crystal Pepsi, old toothpaste, Pringles, Tootsie Rolls, Oreos through history, Billy Beer, Reggie Bar, Nassau Space Food, and what I didn't know this one. There was something actually called Doritos in a can.
Yeah, we found that at an estate sale it was like in Jersey City.
Yeah.
But man, Doritos are one of those things that I don't care how old they are, they're going to hold up well. There's something magical they put on those Doritos, dude. It really is. When you think about what we're ingesting in a lot of the food, just don't think about it. Just enjoy what it is.
I was going to say, when you're eating a food that's, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years old and it still tastes good, you got to wonder what kind of chemicals are making this still taste good all these years later. But the show, what I love about the show is, so you do the unboxing, which is kind of cool, because everyone likes to wonder what's in the box, and then you pull out the old product and you guys study it, and then you give a little history of it, and then it comes time to taste it, and oh my God, I cringe along with you guys, and it blows the whole theory of expiration dates out the window, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. When I started getting into this, so I have a cousin that on my dad's side is the bigger collectors, right? My uncle has so many different, he's got old cola bottles. I had an uncle, a great uncle, actually, my grandma's brother, who worked at the state store. Cause in Pennsylvania, it's a state store, you don't, it's a blue state. So when he worked at the state store, Jim Beam would come out with those collector bottles or those collector beer cans from certain breweries. And this was obviously way before microbrew started. And so he collected all that stuff, and he kept them closed. Like, he kept them sealed. And when he died in like the early 2000s, the whole family kind of went in there and almost had like a draft of old items, right? And my Uncle Dan, who's my godfather, got a ton of them. And so he has them all in his house and opens them either on special occasions or whatever. And so when I got the show, we opened up a 1950s bottle of RC Cola, which was, which we haven't done on the show yet, which, hopefully, knock on wood, season 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Yeah.
But my one cousin, we call him Uncle Garbage. His niece and nephew calls him Uncle Garbage. And my family's always called me the garbage disposal, because at the end of the day, they're like, Josh will eat it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. No worries. And so, my wife will throw away something in the fridge that is one day past expiration. And, I mean, listen, I went through some lean years. When I graduated college and I was living in New York for a couple of years, 2 weeks I ate it. That didn't matter.
Course.
Leftovers, it did. And then we've proved on the show that expiration date is clearly just a suggestion.
Yeah, I have that struggle in my house with my wife. The milk's 2 days over the expiration day, and we don't have any other milk in the house, and the kids got their cereal in front of them. I'm like, that's just a suggestion. And then, of course, I'll taste the milk in front of everyone, and they'll start cringing. I'm like, nope, totally fine, and then I'll pour it for the kids. But every once in a while, I'll get something that, wow, it's really sour and bad. But in general, I don't believe in expiration dates. I remember a story in the newspaper a couple of years back where a store got the bright idea of taking all the expiration date products and sell it separately in stores.
I remember reading something about that. I remember them, basically saying, hey, it's up to you.
Right.
Like, we're not going to take any responsibility for this.
Yeah.
But there's no point in throwing any of this stuff away.
Right.
And that, like, if you go to flea markets, because I grew up an antique kid. My parents went antiquing on the weekends when I was younger. Anytime we were on a road trip, if they saw a flea market or an antique store, we stopped, which as a kid was a disaster. But now that I've been doing this, I'm like, man, those antique stores probably are a wealth of canned foods, like you said, with, because what we miss and what, has kind of gone away over time is those nostalgic old logos. And that's what people look for in those cans.
Right.
Like that 1947 box of Wheaties looks nothing like it does today.
Of course.
And, I personally, there's something about those old magical logos that are very, very eye-catching to a lot of people. And that's where we need to find those collectors that still have it sealed. And we're like, listen, if you let us open it perfectly and don't damage the can or the box or something, we want to try what's inside, and we'll gladly give you that collector back.
Oh my God, I got so much to talk about because now you just remind me of something else. I just want to back up slightly. I had a beer can collection, and I actually had a Billy beer that was still full. And I never thought all the years of, collecting beer cans and having that in my collection that I would actually open it and try it. And that's the brilliance of this show, because as soon as you guys pulled out the Billy beer, someone that's a bit on the older side like myself, I'm like, oh my God, I remember the Billy beer, which was obviously Jimmy Carter's brother had a brewery, and they came up with this Billy beer. And I had no idea that it's one of the worst tasting beers in the history of beer making.
So when that came out, every beer can collector, that is a must-have in a beer can collection, right?
Yeah.
Because think about the facts of the Billy beer, right? Is the Fall City Brewing Company created this Billy beer because they were struggling a little bit and they wanted, something to explode onto the market. They make this Billy beer. It legitimately bankrupted the brewery. That's how bad the beer was. The beer was listen, Billy Carter drank PBR. When he got the Billy beer, he went back to PBR. They didn't even taste test it with Billy. Like, if you got a celebrity nowadays, like, let's just say LeBron James wanted his own beer. Yeah. I guarantee you LeBron James would be in the taste test being like, don't like that, I'll drink that.
Yeah.
Billy, they were like, nah, it's going to be swill. Good luck. We're going to sell it.
Yeah.
And so when we tasted it on the show, I got so many texts from friends' dads, right? Or uncles or whatever. And they were like, oh, that beer was shit in the 70s. I can't imagine what it's like now.
Right.
So
a couple things. So when I was living in Boston, they had a Titanic display. So it was all the stuff they found. Did you go to that?
No, I've never been to it, but I've heard.
Oh, you heard about it though. Okay. Cause it went from city to city for a while. The most fascinating part was the jars of food that they brought up from the bottom of the ocean. And I remember they had like pickles in a jar and everything else you could pickle. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at stuff that's like over 100 years old. And it really did look like it was preserved and that you could possibly still eat it. Not thinking at the time that you fast forward and you guys would be doing this show. Well,
you got to imagine, right, that one of the things that we're always curious about on certain items is how it's stored.
Yeah.
So, if it's, in those East Coast houses back in the day, when they stopped using coal to heat the home, they still had those coal cellars.
Right.
And everybody just kept food down there because it was natural refrigeration. It was dark. There was nothing that, was really going to be, maybe it would get damp down there, but for the most part, you could preserve anything you wanted down there. Multiply that by 1 million when the Titanic sinks. You're at the bottom of the freezing cold ocean. It's dark. There's nothing that can really, unless it's broken. Other than that, all the pressure of the water and everything is just keeping those things perfectly preserved. That, I mean, let's be honest, that's a dream scenario, is you come across like a shipwreck and there's food in there.
Yeah.
That's when eating history really hits. Like, you know, nominate us for an Emmy. We just found the mother lode.
Oh man, someone's got to get you, you know, a jar of pickles from the Titanic for your show.
Right?
That would be amazing.
It's a game. That'd be a game changer. I mean,
Of
that's
course
like,
it would.
that's when you need to get Leonardo DiCaprio, James Cameron, and Kate Winslet to come onto the show to try the pickles with them.
Right. So the unboxing on every episode is awesome, and then
Thanks,
like I said, you give a little bit of a history lesson, and then it's time to try the stuff. What goes through your head when you're about to try some of this stuff?
The process of shooting the show was a ton of fun, because obviously, you know, we're kind of creating a show out of one small idea, is trying old food, right? You're building the history around it.
Yeah.
You know, but the cornerstone is unboxing this stuff, seeing how it ages over time, and hopefully that we can eat it and try it. Right. So when you're shooting this show, you're going through a lot of the historical information. You're doing and you can see the producers and the cameramen in the back paying attention. But then as soon as we start to open it, everybody is on their feet. The PAs are on their feet.
Yeah.
Everybody that's sort of been like either, I don't want to say not paying attention, but doing their job. The cameramen, the PAs, they're all like, oh my God, look at that. Yeah. They're all so interested in it. So it's this amazing crescendo of how we get to that. And then, you know, there is a general anxiety amongst everybody in the room of, I don't know, man. I don't know if you should eat that. Yeah. Right. And then, you know, we have a toxicologist on set. We have a set medic, obviously, but the toxicologist is really the one that comes in sometimes, and he's like, I think you'll be fine. And I was like, do you think, or do you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, and a lot of the times, you know, like you run, you know, obviously the stomach ache is the bottom of the barrel. And then when you get to botulism, because botulism is the world's most powerful biotoxin, that's going to take you out.
Yeah.
So like when we opened that Chef Boyardee last week, right?
That was amazing. Oh my God.
That first of all, that would have killed us without a doubt. Second of all, when we wrapped, I got into a legit discussion with our showrunner, Matt, who's amazing. I was like, I should have eaten that cheese. The crowd would have wanted me to eat that cheese. I would have just licked my thumb, put it in the cheese. And I'm an Italian kid. I guarantee that cheese would have been fine. He's like, I guarantee you some of that meat sauce leaked into that cheese. And if you're going to die from Parmesan cheese on the show, I'm not letting that happen. It's just like if you die from a 2,000-year-old thing that we found in a creek in the Euphrates River somehow, right? Great. That's how you go out. Great. But I'm not letting you do that on a 1970s box of Chef Boyardee.
Well, I saw that episode. I just want to jump in quickly and say, you didn't have to eat the cheese. It was still an amazing episode when you dumped out the Chef Boyardee, and everyone came running onto set. That's the thing I wanted to ask you. So I thought this was, you know, obviously it's a really fun watch. And then I'm watching an episode. I don't remember which one, but it was early on. And then next thing you know, you guys are about to try something, and you got the experts basically running on set and basically telling you, don't touch anything. And then you pretty much had to have a hazmat team clean up the area. And then I'm like, wow, there's a real serious angle to this show on top of the fun.
Yeah, no, that was one of those days where, you know, we had to put the gloves on and everything, because it's like what we're dealing with right now with coronavirus, right? Like if you touch botulism and you like touch your face, you touch your mouth, you could one, die, or two, get paralyzed. You could really do some serious damage to yourself. But I will say this about that Chef Boyardee, man, is the smell of that Chef Boyardee. Now, I've never been around like a dead body or a murder scene or anything like that, right? Knock on wood, that's never going to happen.
Right.
But that smell of that Chef Boyardee, because what happened was we opened that Chef Boyardee and I was the first one to hold it, and I squeezed it, and when it breathed out, it breathed right into my nose, and I'm telling you, man, it sits right there on like the bridge of my nose. I will never forget that smell ever.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm getting a little queasy just thinking about it. So how do you guys decide what you can and can't eat? Just by having these experts that pretty much give you I think you could eat it, or is it a little more than that? You
know, there's a lot of science that goes in behind it. We had two amazing toxicologists that came on our set. That have been working in this for a long time. And there was some, you know, there's obviously some scientific tests that they can bring about. They, from their personal experience, things of that nature. There is, we don't show them a lot on screen just because there's only so much time in a 30-minute episode, but there is a lot of calculation behind if we can or can't eat it. When we do open it, what we should do, what are the proper precautions for sure. I mean, it's not just like you and your brother in the backyard and you found a can of soup from 30 years ago. Like, let's open it and eat it.
Yeah.
There is a very professional level to it all. But at the end of the day, it's, if it smells bad and it looks terrible and there's a risk to it, we're not going to do it.
And it's so smart not to show those people unless it's like the dramatic thing, like I just discussed a couple of minutes ago, where they run on set like botulism, get away. It's so smart. You don't really show what goes behind deciding whether or not you're going to eat it. I saw the 100%. One episode where you pulled out the old a lead test because you were drinking canned water that was made for the Korean War, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And
60s.
60s. And you opened up the water and you guys were going to try the water that was, almost 60 years old, I guess. And you had a little
lead test.
A little lead test kit. Mm-hmm. And it turned out there was no lead in the water, even though the can itself looked like there was a problem with the lead.
It sure tasted like there was lead in there, but
even water.
there was no lead.
What did it taste like? Water from 60 years ago? For
me, there's something that doesn't equate of drinking water out of a can.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Also, you're adding almost, a 60 plus years to this can of water. And we did that slap test, which I don't want to get too graphic, but it's the perfect sound of like slapping an ass when you hit the can.
That right? Boy.
It's got that perfect slap. Like it just, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sound like that, like we said on the show, you shouldn't drink it. But then you opened it and it was like, it's that smell of the fish tank. You had a goldfish as a kid. You got it at Carnival.
God. Yeah.
Right. You didn't clean the bowl. Your mom kept saying, clean the bowl, clean the bowl, clean the bowl. You finally cleaned the bowl and some of that water splashed in your mouth or something when you were cleaning the bowl. That's what that tasted like.
Wow. And it's safe to say that most of the stuff does not taste good whatsoever. And every once in a while you get some that is delicious. But with that said, you got to explain. Every once in a while you'll try something and you and Smokey will talk about how your mouth is going numb. What is that? Is there science behind that?
Yeah, so the mouth numbness for me happened with the Fritos and the Duncan Hines cookie mix.
Yeah.
That Duncan Hines cookie mix, I took too big of a bite. I will say that. Smokey usually takes a smaller, more calculated bite, and I'm just like, give me half the cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain things that happen with either shortenings, oils, sugars that will make things go rancid, right? The oil, salt is going to be our biggest natural preservative. And I will say this, those 70s era Pringles were just so salty. You don't realize that over the years, obviously, we as a population have put less and less salt on things as we realize that watching our grandparents die because they've just been ingesting sodium.
Yeah.
Those chips were so salty. And obviously they were using that salt to preserve the food longer. Like we said, those expiration dates are kind of a suggestion.
Sure.
But when those shortenings or those sugars or those oils that are used in those food go rancid, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. It just adds for a really, really terrible eating experience. Forget the taste, put that aside. There's a reaction in your mouth. Peanuts do it. It hits your mouth, and it's sort of like, when you hit your funny bone?
Right.
That's what it feels like in your mouth.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Have you guys had food poisoning from eating this stuff on the show?
I mean, I've had food poisoning in my life, obviously, but we didn't get any food poisoning on the show. The funniest story that happened was we had that 100-year-old cod liver oil, right?
Yeah.
And it sort of tasted, and they didn't put this in the show, I think, because sometimes when I'm describing how things taste, I use like actual products. Okay. And they can't use that in the show. And I said it kind of tasted like a mix between mouthwash and Jägermeister. That's what that.
I love it.
That's what that cod liver oil tasted like.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be way more oily, but it wasn't, because it was a cordial. I mean, it was 8% alcohol,
Yeah.
It says on the bottle, recommended dosage for, back in the day, 3 tablespoons. So Smokey and I both did 3 tablespoons. For the next 36 hours, I couldn't have been more than like 100 to 150 feet away from a toilet.
Wow.
I mean, I had to be by it. And here's the crazy part. That was the last segment we shot before we took Christmas break.
Yeah.
So I went back to the hotel. The next day, I had to get on a flight back to Los Angeles from New York. Dude, you know how bad that flight was? That was a rough flight.
God.
But it wasn't food poisoning. It was literally because, you know, they produced that cod liver oil to promote healthy digestion, basically meaning it was a laxative.
Right.
Because a lot of the food that you read on those, you know, like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s era labels, even into the 50s, most of those labels say promotes in healthy digestion because we weren't eating a lot of fruits and vegetables back then.
Jesus.
It was a lot of just meats and potatoes, which blocks you up.
Just clogging up everything.
Not to get too vivid here, but seriously,
Are you kidding me?
all that stuff, it blocks you up. And so all these people, all these companies were basically, you know, it was like a moon race. It was like the space race to help digestion.
Yeah.
That cod liver oil certainly helps.
That's funny.
Digestion.
You know, we just met. You gave me your food poisoning story. You want my best food poisoning story?
Give it to me.
Okay.
Yes.
So living on Long Island, you know, you go to the beach. When you weren't working, you went to the ocean for the day. And you had to pack up everything. And we would always go to the deli and get sandwiches and whatnot. So I decided, it was the middle of summer. It was going to be about 100 degrees that day. That's why we decided to go to the ocean. I decide ham and Swiss with mayo and tomato and potato salad with lots of mayo was a perfect lunch for the ocean. Okay.
Perfect.
So I go to the ocean. We're laying out. My lunch is in a brown paper bag on the side, thinking nothing of it. Fast forward an hour or two. It's been in the sun for a while now, and I eat my lunch. It was delicious at the time. Okay. Fast forward, I had to be at my brother's for dinner, and he was making homemade crab cakes. And all of a sudden,
more mayo.
Yeah. All of a sudden, before dinner, I feel that first, like a squeaky door in the middle of my gut. And I'm like, oh my God. And I went to the bathroom, and it started off slow. Fast forward, I am not even hanging with my brother, who was with his now wife. They were just starting to date, and we were kind of getting to know each other. That's why he invited me over for dinner. I'm in the bathroom the entire time. Fast forward hours and hours later, I'm still going into the bathroom, and the only way I could describe this, the food poisoning was so bad, I was dry heaving from my butt. Nothing was coming out anymore, but my butt still was like, no, I think there's more in here. I think there's more in here. And I'm just like, worst food poisoning of my life. Because I thought mayo could handle 100-degree weather at the ocean for a few hours before you eat it.
You took the initiative. I like you took the initiative.
Yeah.
I think you may have created a term for like dusty butt. Like you firing dust.
Oh yeah, I'm just blowing out dust, man. That's perfect description. And then my second favorite one, I was wearing shorts with boxers on. And I just met, they were friends of mine. I was meeting his girlfriend for the first time, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. It was in Florida, and it was time to leave, and I was on the stoop saying goodbye, and I thought I could squeak out a fart. And I didn't squeak out a fart. I squeaked out a tiny little nugget that fell out of my butt. This is a true story, Josh. Because I'm wearing boxers and shorts, it falls straight down, hits my big toe, and rolls across the stoop in front of everybody.
No fucking way.
Yes. And then I was mortified, but I also knew that I just, released the plug, and I went, oh no. I was mortified, but I was also like, oh crap, here it comes, and ran into the bathroom. And I was in their bathroom for who knows how long. And then I went into the guest room, and we were supposed to leave. We had somewhere else to go. And for the next, I don't know, like 6 hours, I was in this bed once again with just miserable food poisoning. But it started with a little nugget falling, hitting my big toe, and rolling across the stoop toward these people.
I mean, somebody has to buy that story from you, because that needs to be in an Adam Sandler movie or something.
Exactly.
That's really good.
I've told that story over the years many times, but
man, That is incredible.
Josh, hold on for a second. I can't wait to talk about moose nose jelly and the worst thing you ever tasted on Eating History. But first, I got to say hi to BetterHelp.com/Opie. That's HELP. BetterHelp.com/Opie. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? Yeah, man, the coronavirus and the shopping is bringing on so much anxiety. Can I touch the tomatoes without getting the corona? I don't know. I can't focus on anything else but produce and how to get it into my house safely. Does that have something to do with BetterHelp? I think it does, right? BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You could start communicating in under 24 hours. It's professional counseling done very securely. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. And they're going to give you timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you could schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room like traditional therapy. Oh, my God, who's doing that these days? Could you imagine waiting in a waiting room and there's somebody else there and they're not 6 feet from you? And here comes the anxiety again. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches. So they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is definitely available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/Opie, and join the over 800,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Special offer right now for you. Come on, you know you need to talk to somebody, right? Get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/Opie. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/Opie. You may remember cowboy poet Dalton Wilcox from his appearances on Comedy Bang Bang or his podcasting attempts on the Andy Daly Podcast Pilot Project. But after many threats, the city slickers at Earwolf are finally giving Dalton his own podcast, Bananas for Bonanza. Every other week, join Dalton and his friends Mutt Taylor and Amy Sleeverson. We're talking Maria Bamford, right? She's a genius. She's nuts, and she's a genius. Check it out as they take on watching the beloved classic TV Western Bonanza one episode at a time. Now, Bonanza was on the air for 14 years and 430 episodes. So this posse and some special guests have really got their work cut out for them. Plus, on off weeks, you could catch bonus episodes with Dalton and Mutt only on Stitcher Premium. So grab your wooden stake, in case of vampires, and catch Bananas for Bonanza on Earwolf, on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. I got to check this one out. Bananas for Bonanza. All right, let's get back to Josh and Eating History on the History Channel. I can relate to you guys just a little bit because when I was growing up, I was into kind of doing more like shocking things and getting the attention of people in school because school bored the hell out of me. My thing was I would reach under the desk and I would feel around and I would feel like gum that was stuck under the desk for years. Like I'm talking the ones that were almost petrified. And I would peel the thing off, and it would be hard as a rock, no joke. And I would wait for the teacher to turn around, to the chalkboard or whatever, and then I would get the attention of whoever I could in the classroom, and I would show that I just got it from under the desk, and I would put it in my mouth, and they would all go, "Oh my God!" And then the teacher would turn around real quick, but wouldn't know where it was coming from, and no one was gonna rat me out because they wanted to see me do it again. And then it got to a point I didn't want to be known for this, but so I had to tap out after a while. But people started paying me to do it during class. They would start they would start getting up a little collection, nothing crazy, obviously, and then I'd make
you're just an entrepreneur.
Yeah, So I'm thinking if you guys need another member for the show, I think I could try some of this stuff.
I love that idea. You're like Buddy the Elf, just taking all the gum.
Oh my God, I did that way before him. But,
way before. You're a pioneer of gum eating.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I did, what I did was, every time I tell the story, people think I'm insane.
Yeah.
But we used to lay out pixie sticks on the cafeteria tray and snort them in the fourth grade.
God, really?
Yeah, and that was the dumbest thing of all time. Never put sugar up your nose.
Right.
It is I mean, it's mind numbing. And I think a teacher caught us. Again, this was like the 4th grade. This is elementary school, and I can vividly remember the principal being like, "Where did you get the idea how to do this?"
Yeah,
and I just right out of my mouth said Scarface. And he's like, "Your parents let you watch Scarface?"
Right.
And then my mom and dad, who were both teachers, were mortified, just mortified.
That is really funny. I when I was in college, a trend started, which was so stupid, and I haven't heard about it since, but like a shot glass, obviously. So you turn the shot glass over and there's just a little bit of a indentation, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
College kids would put vodka or tequila on top of that and snort that from the and I forgot what we called it, something Willy or whatever. Maybe someone can help me out, but that was a trend for like the first year or two at college. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is just stupid, man.
At least it wasn't butt chugging, dude. You know what I mean?
True. I think butt chugging came after me. Thank God. Thank God.
It came after me too.
All right. So, eating history on the History Channel, I got to ask you, what product didn't taste old at all?
I will say there's like 3 or 4 items that we tried that the taste will never leave my mouth. Frito is definitely one of them, right?
How old was the Frito? Sorry.
Frito was from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And it's, it's a corn chip. So you figure it's fine because then, about a week and a half later, we got those 70s Pringles.
Yeah.
And they tasted fine.
Right.
I finished that can of Pringles.
That's unbelievable.
And then, again, like I said, shockingly enough, that 100-plus-year-old cod liver oil held up pretty well. The Doritos were only about 25 to 30 years old. So they held up great. The Reggie bar, which I didn't try, and like I said in the show, I didn't like the Yankees enough to want to try the Reggie bar.
Right.
But the Mario bun that we found in the abandoned village outside of Pittsburgh was basically the same product. I mean, it's from the same company. It's from Clark Bar. They made the Reggie bar. They made the Mario bun. And I remember eating those Mario buns when I was a kid because, Mario Lemieux, I'm from Pittsburgh. The Mario Lemieux is the biggest deal in the history of Pittsburgh sports. You can throw anybody else out there. It's Lemieux and everybody else.
Yes.
And so that tasted great back in 93, but I will tell you in 2020, it did not. Did not. The weird thing is you would think that peanuts kind of hold up over time. They don't, and nor does peanut butter.
Right.
And I don't, there's some, and like I said, there's some behind those rancid oils and stuff that go into peanuts and peanut butter. But as far as like top of the list items go, the Pringles tasted fantastic. Man, we've you know what the other one was? The Oreos.
I haven't seen that episode yet. It's called Oreos Through History, I think, right?
That's tonight.
All right, cool.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it on the History Channel.
The Oreo was a really fun experiment because, and I don't want to ruin any history because I think you'll really love the Oreo segment. And that was actually, we shot that in January right around my birthday, and my wife hadn't been to set yet. And so she came out, and she, on the second day, she was like, "What are you guys doing today?" And I was like, "Oreos." And she's like, "Oh, this will be fun."
Yeah.
And as she's kind of going through it, she said to our showrunner, she's like, "Is he always like this excited about trying the old stuff?" Because she's seen me try like old beers and liquors and all that kind of stuff. And our showrunner was like, "Yeah, is he not show this excitement in front of you?" And she's like, "I think he hides it because I would get too worried. And I don't think I'd be married if I had known he was eating all this old stuff."
Yeah.
But the history behind the actual ingredient shift in Oreos through the years is a really cool story. And so we try Oreos through the decades. We also go back to the food historian, Ken Albala, where we tried the peanut butter onion and the jellied moose nose.
Yes.
We go back to him tonight. And we try beaver tail.
Oh my God. I was going to mention him. He's the creepiest part of the show, believe it or not, because he finds stuff that people used to eat a really long time. And then he makes it for you guys. And I haven't really cringed watching you guys taste this stuff for the most part until you guys tried the moose nose jelly. And I wrote it down on my paper here in big letters. Like, I think that's the most disgusting thing you guys tried. It was so hard to watch. Basically, you guys unbox a moose head, and then he has you cut the nose off, that giant nose, and then you boil it down to moose nose jelly. I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. I got to tell you, man, I loved it. I thought it tasted great. Yeah. After, we showed us just eating it plain, but then when cameras wrapped, I put it on toast with like some pickles. It was fantastic. It was like a pate at a French restaurant. It just so happened to be moose. And the crazy part was there was definitely still fur in there.
Oh my God.
And the story behind that, because I do like a little after show after on my YouTube channel, and we kind of talked about it. Smokey doesn't do well with textures.
Yeah.
And the one thing he said all along since we started making the show was he's not going to eat an eyeball.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, this isn't Fear Factor. They weren't eating eyeballs. But if we could get like somebody to prove in history that people were eating eyeballs for something, I don't want to start another coronavirus from trying like a cow's eyeball or something.
Kidding,
but,
right?
Right. But so we make this, we start boiling. First of all, cutting off that nose. I have a picture that I can send you that I will never post online because PETA will literally come to my front doorstep.
Oh.
But we had to basically chop off that nose. And then we boiled it for a solid 30 minutes. And when it came out, Ken went right in there and just started ripping the fur with his bare hands. He's like, it's not that hot. I was like, it just came out of boiling water. Of course it's hot, you friggin' maniac.
Right.
So we definitely, it was so hot and that we definitely didn't get all that fur off there. So there was still plenty of fur in that moose nose jelly.
I got to give away one of the shots. Whoever's filming the show is doing a very good job.
Yeah.
The moose nose jelly, before you guys ate it, there was like sort of a pan shot of what, you guys were about to eat. And you could see what I thought was pretty much moose nose hairs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
God.
There's fur in there, man. There was fur in there for sure.
Yeah.
But the whole process of that moose and that moose nose and everything in between, that was a very, very memorable day all around, I think, for everybody on set because, listen, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. A lot of people hunt. My uncles hunted, whatever. I went deer hunting one time, shot a deer, felt terrible about it. Like I was like Marissa Tomei and my cousin Vinny, right? You're going to shoot the little deer?
Yeah.
I shot the deer, felt terrible about it, never went hunting again. I see this moose come on. I'm like, oh my God, I want to cut a nose off a moose. And I was like, this is when, PETA comes after me, this whole thing. And then, as we're like boiling it, it's boiling down, all this kind of stuff. I'm watching this saying to myself, so this is, we're going to eat a moose nose, huh? And as like, I wasn't psyching myself out, but like every hour I was like, all right, it's a moose nose jelly. All right, here we go. And then all of a sudden, again, a lot of these things, they kind of surprise you. I didn't mind it. Nobody else liked it. Not one other person on set liked it.
Yeah, that
showrunners, cameramen, nobody liked it.
Yeah, it was gross to watch. That was the one that definitely got to me. And by the way, on my old radio show, we tried a lot of weird shit over the years, and we did try the eyeballs. I think it was sheep eyeballs. I think.
Okay.
And
did you cook them or were they raw?
They were kind of boiled. We used to do a bit where we'd boil just terrible meat products like eyeballs and the penis. You have to go penis if you're going to be a shock jock. And but the eyeballs, man, you would get the crunch in your mouth because of the lens.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
And then it would like pop in your mouth, and then juice would squirt out. And one of my guys, Vic Henley, he's like, oh, it's not that bad. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is terrible. But so I thought the moose nose jelly was going to be the worst thing you tasted on the show, Eating History.
No.
Which is you got to tell me what's the worst thing you've eaten so far?
It's like a three-way tie. It's that Frito. Crazy enough. I'm telling you that Frito. There's a spot in my back left molar. Okay.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. Like some food gets back there.
Oh my God. It's called it's called a food pocket.
And it sat there, man. Yes. And you know how when you're eating Fritos, and by the way, I love Fritos now. I mean, I'll eat a bag of Fritos with, whatever, football game day, dip it in some buffalo chicken dip. It's fantastic.
Of course.
Okay? But that Frito sat in my flavor pocket and it's still there, man. I'm telling you, I can taste it. And the peanut from the one, because it says on the box of Cracker Jack, one nut. It just says peanut. It doesn't say peanuts.
Yeah.
There was very little peanuts in there. That same thing sat in my flavor pocket. I thought I was going to lose a tooth when I ate that old peanut. I did. I thought it was going to like rot my tooth out, and that was that.
Yeah.
Straight to the dentist. And then, obviously the smell of the Chef Boyardee was brutal. Shockingly enough, that Duncan Hines cookie mix was really, really bad.
And what year was that from? Do you remember offhand?
It was the first, which was cool about it. We got it from a collector. It was the first run of that Duncan Hines cookie mix from that factory. I think it was in Michigan. And it was 1981.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And what was the best thing? Probably the Pringles?
Probably the Pringles.
Yeah.
And the Oreos coming up tonight were some of my favorites.
Okay.
The sweets, randomly enough, sometimes chocolate really holds up well, and sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of, I think, all in the process, all in the storage.
Yeah.
But whatever they're doing with Oreos from today through back, they're doing it right. Because those Oreos were just spot on still.
Oh, what was the oldest thing?
Oldest thing was the hardtack. Yeah.
The hardtack. Oh, right. That was one of the earlier episodes. What's hardtack again? It was like kind of a, almost like a cracker.
It was used in the Civil War. It goes all the way back to ancient Roman times. Hardtack is what the name would kind of suggest. It's a very, very hard cracker that they have baked over and over and over again to just get every bit of moisture out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just plain calories. And the soldiers in the Civil War, they used hardtack up until World War I. And there's these urban legends that the U.S. Army kept hardtack from the Civil War and was giving it to soldiers in the Mexican-American War.
Yeah.
In World War I, because they had so much of it, and it never goes bad. It won't ever kill you. It just starts, and it tasted terrible then. It tasted terrible now, and it just dries out your mouth. Like we were talking about mouth numbness, the hardtack just dries out your mouth immediately.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah. The other part of the show is when you do find the iconic foods, like we mentioned the Reggie Bar and the Mario Lemieux thing. That's exciting. Like you guys dragged out a Crystal Pepsi, which was a major bust because people needed their sodas to be on the dark side, their Pepsis and their Cokes.
I think it's a visual thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember the Crystal Gravy SNL sketch? Do you remember that?
I do not offhand, no.
So they had that, right when the Crystal Pepsi thing came out, they did like a Crystal Gravy. Yeah. And I think it was just so much that people were so used to it being a dark color that when they tasted Crystal Pepsi and it tasted like Pepsi, they couldn't get past the optical illusion of it.
Right.
But let's be honest, it wasn't very good either.
Yeah.
It didn't have the same Pepsi taste. And as part of that cola wars and everything, I mean, you got to imagine they sunk something like $300 or $400 million into Crystal Pepsi, and it was gone after 18 months.
Unbelievable. Someone got fired over that, huh?
Oh yeah.
You think? What was the weirdest product you found? I found it fascinating when you guys pulled out the 1985 Harley Davidson wine coolers. That was I had no idea that Harley Davidson was trying to make wine coolers. Was that one of the strangest things you guys found, or was there something that it was better than that?
Very strange and not very good at all.
Yeah.
Wine obviously does well over time. Wine coolers, not so much.
Right.
It doesn't equate that Harley Davidson people want wine coolers. But then you got to imagine there's always like some kind of hot girl on the back of a motorcycle, of a Harley Davidson guy or a Hell's Angel that maybe she wants. And I don't want to like gender, whatever. I'm sure I would have loved a Bartles and James back in the day.
Yeah.
Everybody's loving White Claws. I enjoy a White Claw.
I like the White Claws.
When you were talking about some of the worst things we tried, oh man, and the floaties that were in there.
Oh my God.
That was a scene. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love seeing the iconic foods because
me too.
You forget and you're like, oh my God, wow, that's so cool. I haven't thought of that in many, many years. The show is really a lot of fun on many levels. You and Old Smokey do a great job there, Josh.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
I think there was one other thing I just wanted to ask you about. Oh, the people that have the collections. We talked about this a lot earlier. And you went to that old couple's house. I hope you don't know him personally because I found him a little on the strange side.
I think when your whole trailer, they lived in a trailer park outside Lansing, Michigan. I think when your whole trailer is literally everything Campbell's Soup.
Yeah.
There's something up there.
Okay, good. You're with me on this because I was like, I don't know how I bring this up, but you walked into their house and I was like, man, I bet you they're serial killers. Every single item in their house had the Campbell's Soup logo on it. Everything, every collectible you could think of. And you wanted to go there and try something really cool. And the guy was so like nervous and freaked out. You're like, hey, can we try this? And he's like, no. And then he pushed it to some of the stuff he didn't care as much about that you could try.
Yeah, I was a super bummer because he had so much different stuff. I wanted to try that Campbell's ketchup because one of the things again, we find a lot of different stuff, and we've shot a ton of different stuff that may or may not make the show. And I don't want to spoil anything just because I know there's webisodes coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out internationally, all this kind of stuff. So, but we found some other stuff at that old village in Pittsburgh that we didn't try. And one of them was a really old bottle of Heinz ketchup. And for me, a kid from Pittsburgh, I wanted to try that Heinz ketchup, but maybe for a later season, we'll see. But I wanted to try that Campbell's ketchup because, one, it doesn't exist anymore. Two, it's rare you find a really old bottle of ketchup.
Yeah.
Because what do we do with ketchup? We eat it immediately.
Oh my God,
ketchup doesn't sit around.
No.
Right? I wanted to try that Campbell's ketchup. He totally shot me down. And it took a lot for me to not shut down cameras right there and be like, yo, we need to try this.
Yeah.
Like, this is the show.
Yeah.
Because we did try that Campbell's soup that was freeze dried. It was 60 plus years old, and it was delicious. There was nothing wrong with it. But freeze drying food, again, like the NASA potatoes, you freeze dry food, you could keep that thing in the sun for like the next 30 years and open it, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's freeze dried. That's why they did it. That's why we have so many freeze dried foods in military rations. Wherever you go, they're freeze dried food. Again, it wasn't like anticlimactic. I was really excited that soup tasted great. I would have been way more shocked if it didn't taste great.
I know you wanted to try the ketchup badly, but then you're like, oh my God, these people are creepy. And so you start focusing on, oh, look how nervous this guy's getting. He's not going to give up his, bottle of ketchup.
Yeah. He's and I will say this, dude.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to say, what are those people like? I'm like, yeah, it was a scene.
Yeah.
They had, which we didn't show on the show, obviously, because I don't want like Annabelle creation coming after me, but they had so many old Campbell's kids dolls that really looked like they were haunted.
Oh, my God.
As somebody who is terrified of horror movies, utterly terrified of horror movies.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out those dolls to me, thank God, like with like an hour left of shooting. Had I known they were there that whole shoot, no way.
Oh, my God.
No way. Yeah.
Well,
it was a scene.
Yeah, the show is unbelievable. We didn't even get into the NASA space food you guys tried from the space shuttle, and you guys got to get a second season, right?
I would hope so, man. I think that everybody's really enjoying the show. I know ratings keep increasing, and me doing shows like this can only help. So thank you so much for having me on, man. I've been a fan of yours for a long time.
Oh, wow,
Josh. I want you to know that. Yeah,
that's very cool to hear. I got to thank my brother, but it's one of those shows. It's so unique and so different that I can't imagine that they're not going to continue for a while.
I would hope so. There's so many. Let's be honest. There are endless items out there. I think there's endless collectors and there's endless opportunities. Again, we're only scratching the surface here in the United States. We go international. I think we can only grow and get crazier and bigger and see where this takes us.
Right on. And what's your YouTube channel? Because now I'm going to be hooked on that.
Yeah, the Josh Macuga Show is my YouTube channel's name. Right after the West Coast airing of Eating History, I get Smokey because Smokey's in West Virginia, so he's a few hours behind, obviously ahead of me. And then a couple of my comedian friends here in LA, Mark Ellis and Ken Knapsack, we do a little after show. We've had the showrunner Matt on a couple times to talk about it, and it's just like a cool little behind the scenes thing because. Those items that we're shooting for like 3 and 4 hours, and you're only seeing them boiled down to about 3.5 minutes. So there's so much other stuff that we can talk about. And I know History's coming out with some webisodes that you're going to have to check out on their YouTube channel. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh man, let's keep in touch. I'm really a big fan of the show there, Josh.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. I'd love to anytime.
How's the coronavirus treating you? You guys all right out there?
Yeah, we're okay. Me and the missus have been, staying inside and doing our part and, going to the store when we absolutely have to.
How horrifying is that? That's more horrifying than eating some old food.
It is scary going to the store, man.
God, I hate it. I got to go today. And I'm like, no.
Masks and gloves and lines. And we are in like a police state right now. It's crazy.
And then you got the people that don't think it's really that real. And so they're like not wearing their face mask and their gloves. And you're like, come on, just respect that. I'm scared shitless of this thing, please.
I'm scared shitless. And I'm also, my parents are in Pittsburgh. And I'm scared shitless. There was that silly protest in Harrisburg.
Yeah.
I'm scared shitless that somebody from that protest comes back into my parents' neighborhood. My mom bumps into one of them at the store, and then, who knows?
Of course.
It's absolutely terrifying, man. I'm with you.
I do understand we got to open up, parts of the country. I understand that. But
sure.
We're in the epicenter here in New York. I mean, I escaped New York a while ago. I'm out on Long Island, thank God.
Okay.
But New York City, they're not going to open that up anytime soon.
There's too many people. It's too many.
So, yeah. All right. Hey, Josh, this was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, man. Pleasure's all on this side, dude. Really appreciate it.
And we'll do it again, all right? Once again,
I would love to.
Eating History on the History Channel with Josh and Old Smokey. Boo, 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 boo.